guys and gals, and over here from Drake Queen Game, and something about on Twitter, the Gaming Drag. Today I'm coming back at you on Let's Play episode of Kingsguard, Koshiro's Path. So let's go ahead and jump right back in, shall we? Alarm Janie, we're up, and let's go! Was he trying to lure you in with his kindness? Your silence is worrying. If you are nervous, there is no need to be. I know that it's been a while since we last saw each other, but I am still the same man you once knew, albeit a bit older. But if something is on your mind, you should tell me. Even with as old as I am sad to say that I am not a mind reader. Who are you? I'm sorry, but who are you exactly? And how do you know me? Do you not remember me, Jake? No. I know it has been years and that time has a tendency to wash away memories, but I thought that you would have at least recognized me. I do. At least I feel like I know you, but I do not know from where. The wolf brought a hand up to his head, to his beard, and stroked it casually. You do not remember me reading to you when you were little? You shook your head. Or the time I caught you when you nearly tripped down the stairs? Your hand rubbed at the back of your neck. Seshiro stopped brushing his beard and looked on with concern. So you really have no recollection of me? He looked back through your memories, of every face you've ever met. There were a few wolves, mostly guards at the castle, but none with the charisma of this beast man or the brilliant color of his fur. You shook your head. That is unfortunate, to say the least. Perhaps I was too excited to think that you would have remembered every person you have ever met. It seems that we have a lot of catching up to do, then. The white wolf had a wistful look upon his aged face, but you couldn't find the right words to say. You're sorry that you couldn't remember him, but you still felt a tinge of regret. If Marilyn or Esther had forgotten all about you, you would have been devastated. Before you could apologize, he stood and walked away from the table, crossing his arms within the sleeves of his clothes to stare outside a nearby window. A slight tingling feeling began to emerge from the forefront of your head, coming from deep within your skull and burrowing out like a worm in an apple. The pain only started to grow, and the longer that you looked at Seshiro, or rather at his back, the more it hurt. You brought a palm your head in hopes to numb the pain, but rather an image of memory burst forth. Two tall beastmen in clothes not different from those here in the village, one with darker fur like midnight, the other bright like the sun. But why? Why were they standing next to your father and mother? And why did they have the signet that represented close ties with the royal family? You winced as it felt like your brain was being squeezed through a pinhole, and just when you thought you were about to see the two beastmen's faces, it all became blank. The pain vanished like a pile of dust in the wind. You used to be a Kingsguard, didn't you? The wolf's tail flicked ever so slightly, but he stayed put. Every time I see you, I get these painful headaches accompanied by images. I can't say why I would have forgotten you, but for some reason I can tell that you are speaking the truth. The wolf fumbled through his robes and stared down into his hands. You caught the glint of something gold, like a small coin or trinket. Years ago, I served as Kingsguard to the royal family. Your mother was the one I was sworn to protect, as well as you. And in times when your parents weren't around, I served as your caretaker. Sipping on some beer tonight, y'all. Once again, your headache returned, twice as painful as before. Like tiny droplets of rain clearing off the dirt of the streets, everything was slowly becoming clearer. The beastman, Seshiro, his time at the castle, the time you spent with him. Like looking at fragments of pictures, you started to recall individual events, all disconnected but all part of your memory. Yes, he was there, when you were so young. How could you forget him? He was such an important person in your life. I remember. I remember someone reading to me on a rainy day, someone with a fur coat so white that it looked like snow. I remember father and mother leaving to see diplomats in another region, and you were there, holding my hand as I waved goodbye. And Leandros, he was young, but you were training him, teaching him a lesson as he fought you, yet you beat him without taking a single step. So you haven't completely forgotten me, then? Yes, but I feel like there's so much missing. All of this is just tiny snippets of memory, as though I'm looking at a newspaper with pieces cut out. Perhaps it is best that you don't remember everything, but I am glad to know that I am still in your memories. The wolf's voice had a somber tone to it, and whatever he was staring at in his hands quickly vanished back into his robes before he joined you and Seshiro and Koshiro back at the table. Now then, I suppose the time for reminiscing is ended. It is time to speak of why I truly brought you here. You couldn't deny that you wanted to speak with the Elder more about your memories, but the soft eyes of the Elder turned suddenly cold. It was almost as though you were staring at your father. Koshiro, if you wouldn't mind. The wolf turned his attention to the fox, who suddenly turned grim-faced as well. You weren't quite certain, but he had just asked of your guard, but he stared back at the elder with uncertainty.
Are you sure this is the appropriate time?
This is something he must know.
Slowly but surely, Koshiro reached into the folds of his clothes and withdrew a golden locket and placed it on the table.
Do you recognize this, Jake?
It took you a moment, but it came to you. Marilyn had worn this particular piece of jewelry all throughout the ride on the ship. Actually, you'd think you might have seen it with her since she arrived in Havana. She was always adorning herself with new and unique jewelry, and since she traveled with Esther often, she never ran out of things to find. Yes, I think it belongs to Marilyn.
You are correct. She kept it with her quite close, and as Koshiro reported, she was always something to fiddle around with it.
Wait, are you saying... Your heart skipped a beat. Did you find them? You weren't sure whether to be ecstatic or concerned. Ever since you woke up on the shore, the thought of them had been on your mind. You considered yourself lucky that you made it off of that ship alive, but the storm and the Leviathan was a deadly brew, and those two weren't in peak physical condition anymore. You looked into the cold eyes of the wolf, though, and you could tell that it wasn't something you were going to look forward to hearing.
No. No, we still have not located them.
I see.
But we still have something to tell you. Something you must know.
Seshiro reached for the locket and pressed down on a small button on the side, causing the lid to flip open. You had expected to see a clock or a picture of a loved one. Rather, it was filled with a white, powdery substance. Curiosity got the better of you as you reached forward to look at it more closely. Don't touch it! Before your fingers could come close to the locket, Koshiro closed it and retracted it away from you. The look in his eyes was worrisome. What? It's dangerous.
Wait, what? That? It just looks like some kind of makeup.
Ooh, excuse me, Ooh, excuse me. Looks can be quite deceiving. What is filled in this container is nothing like makeup. It is a powerful toxin that nicknamed the Sleeping Beauty. If it is rubbed anywhere on open skin or ingested into the body, it can paralyze you in minutes. Use just a little bit more, and death will follow. Toxin? What? How do you know? I know because I'm familiar with this substance. I've had to use it a few times in the past. It is incredibly difficult to make requiring the utmost care that you don't end up preparing it too strong or too weak. And it uses ingredients from creatures so exotic that you have to venture for months to find. Needless to say, it is an incredibly rare poison. Koshiro hid the locket away from view and checked the table to ensure there wasn't any that might have gotten knocked out.
Jake, do you have any clue why Marilyn would need something like this?
Huh? What do you mean?
You were likely thinking that the locket would have had a picture, correct? Probably expecting to see yourself inside.
Well, yeah, maybe a little bit.
You wouldn't. And wouldn't you find it a bit curious that she would need to keep a toxin this powerful on her at all times?
Well, they were always on the move around the world. They would need some kind of protection, right? Would a dagger not be good enough? They also are surrounded by their own hired men to keep them safe. They're old. I doubt they would know how to fight anyway. And what if their bodyguards aren't there? I don't understand. What are you guys trying to imply?
We are merely trying to see if you understand that it is not exactly normal for a woman like her to be carrying this around.
I don't get the feeling that this isn't all you're trying to tell me. Jake, I know this is hard to accept, but... Seshiro put out his hand and hushed Koshiro.
I understand that you love them very much, and I know that they say they were very fond of you, but you'll need to listen to what we have to say. We have reason to believe that they are not who you think they are, and that they may have had a hand in your father's assassination.
What? One second, y'all. Water time.
Hey, guys and gals, and we are back. Let's jump back in, shall we?
Okay. Both of your hands slammed down hard onto the table, disturbing the settled cups of tea. You nearly stood out of your seat. This was an outrageous accusation they were making. And how the hell did you come to that conclusion?
There are other pieces of evidence that suggest subterfuge and sabotage.
They're one of, if not the kindest people you will ever meet. You mean to tell me that they had been putting out a front this whole time? Like there's some kind of criminals? Really mean to say that their actions have been highly suspicious. You can't honestly believe that. Koshiro, they always talked about you. We're always concerned if you were getting enough sleep or eating well. They always yelled at Father because he was pushing you too hard. Why would you even for a second believe they were out to kill me or my father? Of all the people in the world you could accuse and you chose them? You gripped down hard onto the table to keep your hands from shaking, but your anger was already rumbling the bones throughout your body. You couldn't keep your voice down, as the words flung out of your mouth like catapults. Likely the entire village could hear you, but you didn't care. What was making you even more angry was that they were just so calmly sitting there. Had they no shame? And Koshiro, how could he betray them like that? How could he betray you? You couldn't believe them. They were clearly lying, absolutely delusional. I know, which is why I do not want to believe that they are guilty of anything, but when you weren't around, Marilyn and Esther had somehow caught wind of the assassination, and they were concerned for you if things did not turn out well. They came up with an idea to use their ship to aid in your escape. We all agreed it would be for the best, and should it be necessary, we could hide you at their estate. But the only people who were in the room at the time of that discussion was your father, Leandros, Marilyn, Esther, and I. Yet despite that, the plans had been leaked and were ambushed at the docks. Those assassins had managed to find us, and more than likely were lying in wait. They were all over the city already. What makes you so sure they were already they were stalking us? When we went to the docks, I think you remember that there was no one else there. Everyone had already either ran away, boarded the ship, or was killed. Yet the assassins were still around. Why did they wait? Why did they not move on? And your aunt and uncle's ship was still in the harbor. Why is it that they didn't climb aboard and attack everyone else? Attack everyone there? No one else knew of our plan. Both Leandros and I made sure of it, and no one listened in either. You can't know of that for certain. The servants hear all sorts of things. They're basically sponges soaking up gossip. But both mine and Leandros' hearing, we would have known if someone was eavesdropping, even if they were outside the door. Or at the very least, I would. All I can say for certain is that we were the only ones in the know. So you honestly mean to tell me that Marilyn and Esther ratted us out?
On the contrary, I believe we were playing into their hands all along. We sent scouts ahead to Valdenforth to assist you in your journey to your aunt and uncle's estate, but what we found there was something just as horrific as the docks in Havana. The road to the town was blocked off by well-armed men hiding in the shadows of the trees, attacking any who were unfortunate to visit. And washing up along the shores were countless bodies and debris from ships that got too close to the town. Every tavern was filled with barbaric men and beastmen, fighting over what little ale, food, and supplies remained. The town had been overrun, but it would be initially believed to be bandits, but then our scouts overheard something between two drunken men. They were waiting for a ship to moor into harbor, a large ship, and that they were allowed to kill everyone on board save for one individual. The wolf's eyes narrowed in on you. It's probably just a coincidence. That the assassins managed to get into the kingdom despite the measures your father made? That you were attacked at the docks and were likely going to be attacked at your destination? There's a reason why you are still alive, and it's not just coincidence or luck. The attack on the capital. We initially believed it to be nothing more than an assassination, to throw the kingdom into chaos so that they would have a much easier time evading us with their army. Alright, I'm actually going to pause it right there, y'all. Thank y'all so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and check out our Patreon or YouTube memberships if you can. It always helps. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye!